everyone and welcome. My name is Dora and this is my eyeshadow palette inventory video for 2025. At the end of last year, I already shared my just the numbers video for my entire makeup collection, and I can tell you that the numbers have not changed one bit. Nothing left, nothing came in, not even a 1-for-1 in my eyeshadow palette collection since I posted that video. I thought it would be fun this year to categorize my palettes in terms of how many pans I've hit in them. So I want to kick off with all of the palettes in my collection that have no pans hit in them whatsoever. So here's a palette I've got from XX Revolution. It is the Sugar Baby palette and there are 6 shadows in here. A monochromatic palette that is purple. It's really nice. I've done no pan left behind on it. It was in Project Level Up in 22, I believe. And my plan is to put this into Pan Those Eyeshadows this year. Actually, all of the palettes you'll be seeing within this section, so no pans hit yet, are going to be rolling into my Pan Those Eyeshadows this year. I would like to finish up this year with pan in absolutely everything. Next up, I've got this YSL Quint here. Again, I've done no pan left behind on this, but just more sort of in my own time. I'm really excited about working on one of these shadows at least in Pan Those Eyeshadows. And here's my latest addition to my palettes, the Laura Mercier limited edition Winter Wonderment palette. I bought it as part of my winter eyeshadow palette allowance. So last year I allowed myself 4 palettes across the entire year of 2024. As you can see, it's still got its sleeve on, so let's get that off. And here's what the palette looks like. And here's the color story for you. I wore this on Christmas Day and I absolutely loved it. Super nice shadows. Next, I've got the BH Cosmetics Passion in Paris palette, and you've guessed it, it's pretty much untouched. I have swatched a couple of shadows, Seine, Musée d'Orsay, and I think that's it. But I bought it for this shadow here called Arc de Triomphe, which actually looking at it now quite reminds me of Seaside from the ABH Riviera palette. Then I've got the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette. It looks a little bit beaten up already, and the hinges have definitely started cracking. I don't know if you can see that. And here's what my palette looks like. I have worked on these 2 matte shadows here and Pan Those Eyeshadows. I think just for usage goals, or at least, you know, I didn't hit pan. I think I've got like around 60 uses on Hot Mess here and no pan inside. I've yet to hit pan on a Huda Beauty shadow. I hear it's not too hard with the shimmers, but yeah, the mattes are definitely tricky. I mean, good value for money in that regard, at least, but from a panner's perspective, it's a tricky one. Then I've got the Revolution Pro Rockstar Noir Edition palette. I've been showing the Nude Edition palette quite a lot recently on my channel because that one was a Pan That Palette 2025 contender. And here is the sort of noir version of that. I really like it. I bought it during a time when I was massively into pink and gold. And I can't say that I've used every shadow yet. Again, I'm excited to work on at least one of them in Pan Those Eyeshadows. And maybe I'll roll the rest of the palette into like a deck of panning for no pan left behind. Then I've got the Colored Rain Queen of Hearts palette, which I got from Louise here on YouTube. And here's what mine looks like. The shimmers in here are absolutely stunning. I've got a really nice dip on Queen Mother. So beautiful. This really royal purple plummy shadow. So nice. And here's an indie palette, September Rose Cosmetics, Still Pretty. And again, I've only used 2 shadows in here, Primrose and Camellia, and the rest of them are untouched. I think I did swatch Zinnia here at the bottom at one point as well, but yeah, still has that beautiful imprint. This brand went out of business, or at least they put their business on hold, and when they announced that, I got an email notification and I just basically immediately went to order this, which was already discounted quite heavily. I think I paid like £10 for it. I'm super happy I have it. even though I haven't gotten a lot of use out of it yet. And then I've got a Beauty Bay palette here, New Mood. This was a gift I got from Ruth, who's also here on YouTube. Beautiful mattes in there and shimmers. I really enjoy the Beauty Bay formula. What I find with these shimmers, at least this green one here, it works so well as a topper shadow and you don't have to wear it on top of green looks. I've been pairing it with a pink look and it looks super, super nice. And then I've got the Ciate London I Am a Woman, What's Your Superpower palette. There are like 2 versions of this around. I have been really positively surprised with this palette. I worked on it in Graveyard Project Pan last year and I really enjoyed the formula of it. Very pigmented mattes, super lovely sparkly shadows, shimmers. Yeah, really enjoy it. And then I've got the Ellen Tracy The Naked Eye Collection 14 eyeshadow palette. It came with a little eyeliner pencil and a brush. I think I held on to the brush, but the pencil unfortunately went bad. But I've had this on a few trips because it's got a really handy mirror. You can sort of like prop it up like that. A bit hard to show. I just find that it's a really good companion palette because I've got everything in here that I might need to bring along on a trip and mix and match with any other eyeshadow palette or palettes that I would have packed as well. So I've got a total of 11 palettes without pan and I've got 12 palettes where I've got 1 pan hit. I've got this Natasha Denona Quint here with 1 pan. And this is the Ayana palette that I got from Ruth. This one here is from I Heart Revolution. And it's the Mini Match Shadow Palette in Cherry Please. It's kind of mimicking that ND style here. And there's my pan in the middle. It's a really lovely summery palette and I really enjoyed using all of these shadows when it was in my 30-day makeup bag challenge last summer. Another smaller one, this is a quart by Revolution Pro and it's the Ultimate Eye Look palette in So Jaded. And there's a teeny tiny pan here and this is a pressed glitter. Here's the Welcome to Miami palette by Essence, also with 1 pan. I really enjoyed working on this shadow and I have also worked a little bit on this pink shimmer here. I used it a few times on my nails, absolutely loved it. I've got a little bit of use on these 2 matte shadows here as well and maybe even the brown one, not a lot on these other ones. I think I'll ultimately franken it. I'll probably end up using these 2 on my face. And this is the BH Cosmetics Doja Cat Visions palette. Really pretty monochromatic color story with 3 mattes and the rest of them shimmers. I've hit pan here on Russell and pan those eyeshadows. And I've worked on clearing a little bit as well. Here's another I Heart Revolution palette. It's the Tasty Pineapple palette. Another really pretty summery one. I've got pan here in Syrup down here. And yeah, I just don't use this often enough. Hopefully it's going to roll into a project. And here's another monochromatic palette, the Sweet Pinks by Juvia's Place. And I've got pan in this shadow here, which was surprisingly easy from what I remember, but it was a while ago. I think I had this in Expand Those pans as well. Yeah, I'm pretty sure about it. I absolutely love pinks. It's my happy color. And here's my Natasha Denona My Dream palette. And I've got pan in Serenity up here. This was a level 1 palette, so I have used every single shadow. Another Natasha Denona palette, and this is the Glam palette. And I've also got 1 pan over here in Outer Eyelid. And this is the Revolution Forever Flawless Desert Desire palette with a pan in the shadow Desire. I have not used this enough. I've dipped into Explore over here because it was in YouTube at my battleship. And this is the XX Revolution Mint Master Luxe palette. I only hit pan in my first shadow in here at the end of last year. And that's in this shadow here called Dominate. I have not used any of the other shadows yet. I'd really like to use this a little bit more. And the final palette from this category is the Revolution Jewel Glow palette. But be warned, mine looks very different because I've taken a ton of these shadows out to franken them with other ones. The shimmers in here were quite prone to hard pan, and some other ones I hit pan in them and then I decided to franken them. But yeah, There are only 8 shadows left in here out of this 18-pan palette. So here's what this one looks like. So I'm not counting any of the pans that I previously hit in here anymore, of course, but I am counting this tiny one here. This is a perfect brow shade for me. And I'm going to start using it once I have finished my MAC single, but it's probably going to take me all year. Next is all of my palettes with 2 pans in them, and I've got 8 of them. So this one here is the Too Faced, that's my Jam palette. And I've got pan in Jam on it and in Pickup Lines. Then I've got the BH Cosmetics Colori Vivace palette here. There are 16 eyeshadows in here, they're tiny. And I've got pan in these 2 shadows here in the center. And this is the Catrice Tropic Exotic eyeshadow palette. I have taken a couple of shadows out. I did have pan on this teal shadow here previously. But yeah, I took these 2 out to franken. But I also have pan, a teeny tiny one up here. And then the second one here. And here's the Beauty Bay Wilderness palette, and this was in Project Level Up, Level 2. And I've got pan in Ray and also in Eucalyptus. Another Beauty Bay palette, Retro Love, with 2 pans as well. Both of these, at least this one, I hit in 2024. So this one is LOVE. And then I've got pan in Be My Baby, and this was an Expandos pan, so it looks a little bit bigger. And this is the Makeup Revolution Chilled palette, and I've got such a satisfying pan in Candyland, and then another one, a smaller one in Sativa. The final 2 are Revolution Pro New Neutral palettes. This one is called Smoked, and this was also a Level 2 palette, and I've got pan in Sepia and in Muse. I had this over the summer. It was difficult, but I did really still enjoy it. I think it's a beautiful color story. And the final one from this category is the Luxe Shadow Palette. I mean, technically, we could say I have 3 pans in here because I hit pan in base and I finished it. But because it's no longer there, I don't really quite want to count it. Yeah, I've got a huge pan though in gold in here, a pressed glitter, and then another one in the shadow called Neutral. You've guessed it, next up is all of my palettes with 3 pans hit in them, and I've got 7 of them. So this one here is the BH Cosmetics Do Not Disturb palette. I really love this one so much. And I've got a pan in Don't Bother, another one in Me Time, and then this huge one in Off the Grid. I tried to finish this up in Deck of Panning one year. I had the Joker. I didn't quite reach that goal, but I'm still really, really proud of this big, nice looking pan. And this one is the Urban Decay You Got the Look palette. And here's what this one looks like. And here are my 3 pans. So the top one is Endorphin Machine, The Artist, and Shockadelica. The shadows are really, really lovely. I like the quality and the formula of them. And they do tend to roll into other projects here and there. And then I've got this gigantic, at least to me, Revolution palette. It originally had 27 shadows. And it's the Revolution Forever Limitless Nude Rain palette. As you can see that top shadow there, Art, I have taken half of that out to franken, so I'm not claiming this as a pan. And Video I took out completely as well. But I do have pan in Talent, in Swim, and in Glamour. I think eventually I'm going to franken this palette as well. I think these neutral tones, I think I can just, you know, work them into face products, work through them faster that way. I do find this palette quite bulky, so I'm keen to get rid of it. I don't think I can necessarily do that in 25, but it would be really nice to see where I'm at next year with this palette. And here's the other Revolution Pro Rockstar palette, the nude edition with 3 pans in it. In Simplicity, in Tease, and in So Real. And this is the Revolution Pro Phoenix palette. It was a level 3 palette a couple of years ago. This palette really surprised me. I didn't like it at first. It was on the chopping block, but then having to use it for Project Level Up, it really made me enjoy and appreciate this palette. The shimmers are really fun, easy to hit pan in, I think like sort of 10 uses. And I was quite pleasantly surprised with these. So I've pan in Rebirth, Flare, and in Flash. And this is the Revolution Pro New Neutral Blushed palette. The pans in here are so hard to see, but I promise there are 3. So one here in Gala, another one in the pressed glitter Carver, and another one in Dazed. It used to be more visible, but then I used this once for a look and I smudged back over the pan and made it smaller, but oh well. Lucent and Hint are probably my favorite shadows in here. And I think, yeah, I do like pressed glitters, and this is the sort of tone or metallic shade that I really like. And the final one from this category, Revolution Pro New Neutral Romance Palette. There are a couple of duochromes in here, Obsess for example. Oh, can you see that? And Crush as well, but Crush is a lot drier. But Obsess is prone to hard pan, so yeah, not the best quality, but it's okay, you know, you can make it work. I'm really wanting to work on Poetic and Darling and Passion as well, probably. Yeah, they'd be my next favorite ones. The piles are getting smaller, so these are all of my palettes with 4 pans in them, and I've got 3 of them. Another Revolution Pro New Neutral palette, and this is the Passion palette. And this is the first one I bought from this whole series. I bought this during COVID. We were not allowed to look inside them. Bought it in store, but I just really wanted it. And I've enjoyed working on these shadows. Mam, Spoilt, Aura and Ductile have pan. I haven't really used these mattes yet. Evince a little bit. Vice, I think, a couple of uses as well. But other than that, yeah, pretty much still untouched. And this is the Revolution Forever Flawless Utopia palette. This was also in my 30-day makeup bag challenge last summer, and I think I hit pan in Aurora maybe just 1 or 2 days after that challenge ended. But yeah, obviously, you know, the work I'd put into it during these 30 days paid off. And then I've got a pan in Fiction and in Enama and in Promise as well. I really like this color story. This shade in particular is so lovely. And this is the XX Revolution Bare Luxe palette. I think it's so lovely. I think this could be a Pan That Palette contender one year. I've got 4 pans in here. This one is called Neutral, even though it's a pink with silver sparkles in there. And then in Golden, again, like, I don't know what they were thinking when they were naming these shadows. This one is called Ignite, and this one is Earth. Palettes with 5 pans hit. The Anastasia Beverly Hills Riviera palette, which I got from Ruth. I inherited a pan from Ruth in Mediterranean. I'm totally claiming it. And this one is Cannes, and then there's Seaside, which I think is super similar to that Arc de Triomphe shade in the Passion in Paris palette from BH Cosmetics. And then I've got a pan in Sales and one in Estate, and this one looks rusty. Yeah, I'm trying to, this is my Pan That palette in order, so I'm hoping that by the end of the year I'm gonna have pan in everything. And I'm hoping that's gonna help me to reveal what's underneath these and then make a decision. Maybe at the end of the year I'll just take out and declutter whatever's got rust in it. But I do want this palette still in one piece in its entirety, because I think it'd be really satisfying to see that at the end of the year and at the end of the project. The Barry M Black Cherry palette. This is my Pan That palette for this year, so if you don't want any spoilers, look away now and skip forward by about 10 seconds. I'm just going to show it very quickly. Two categories left, 2 palettes left. I've got this one here. This is the Revolution Constellation palette, another Forever Flawless palette, and I have got 8 pans in here. I never had this as a Pan That palette, but yeah, I've just been like putting individual eyeshadows into projects here and there. And over the years, this is one of my oldest palettes, mind you, I've been able to hit 8 pans. And this year I hit 3 new pans, 1 in Fractal, 1 in Mercury, 1 in Spiral. I expanded the pan on Night Sky and expand those pans. And I already had Saturn, Venus, Universal and Celestial, which is super hard to see, but it is there. And my final palette, of course, it has to have the most pans in it. This was my Pan That palette of 2023 and 2024. I've done a lot of frankening with this palette, or into this palette. And out of this 16 pan palette, all of the remaining shadows have pans. So I've got 10 pans in here hit. I haven't touched this since my finale. There's still a tiny little bit of shadow left here in Energy of Franken. Also, Spice is a Franken, Passion is a Franken, All or Nothing in Flames. And then the mattes, Charcoal, Fiery, The Dark Side, Blazing and Heat are the original ones. And yeah, it just makes me so happy to look at this. But I do want to continue to work on it. And I've basically decided I'm going to put this into Expand Those Pans and have one of these shadows at least in that project at a time. This year I've combined Expand Those Pans with Pan Those Eyeshadows rather than having them as two separate projects. And yeah, I think that's fun. Like, it's nicer for me to sort of do stuff in a low-key way, because I really want to make progress on Pan That palette specifically, and on also eliminating that from, you know, however many minutes ago, that first category with no pans hit yet. I think it would be really, really fun to come back. Let me know if you want like a mid-year check-in as well of just my eyeshadow collection, and to sort them again into categories in terms of amount of pans hit. And then we can compare, and hopefully there'll be loads more pans to share. As a little bonus, but I haven't really counted this officially in my inventory, just the numbers video. I totally forgot about it. I do count it in my individual pans of eyeshadows in my total. But yeah, that's basically these 3 palettes here that I've got of singles, mainly of Franken singles. I'm only going to open this one. This is my current Build Your Own palette, or BYOP. These 3 are Frankens, and these are these 4 are Frankens, and this is a depotted Kiko shadow. I'm counting this one as a face product. And then this one, I don't really want to open it. I don't want to spoil anything. I'm also not just quite ready to share my singles yet, but there are 23 Franken shadows in here, and none of them have pan. And then I've got this big one here as well. And as you can see, there's only 1 shadow in here. This is from a Sisley component. It is eyeshadow in there, but I think I might eventually, rather than using it from this oddly shaped pan, I don't really like that for face products. I want them to be like nice and big, like the other one I showed you in my BYOP. So I think once I've got really nice progress on that bronzer shadow, the big pan, that's part of the same Sisley component, I'm going to Franken the 2 together. And then I think, if you remember my perfect brow shadow from the very heavily deconstructed Revolution Jewel Glow palette, I think I'm going to press that in here. So I've got it handy, and I can put it into the smaller one here. So thank you so much for watching all the way until the end. Do let me know in the comments if you'd like to see a mid-year update from all of my eyeshadow palettes, if you would prefer me to show them in a different order, maybe sort them by brand, or do you like this format of having them sorted by amount of pans hit? Personally, I care so much more about how well loved a palette looks versus what brand it's from. But yeah, let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day or night, and I'm sending you so much love. Take care. Bye.